here's a stock that really has had fits and starts for a lot of the last 10 years, has not been able to get out of its own way. Virtually every breakout has failed. Now you've got a major breakout, and it retested support. Really, you have to go back to 2010 to find a period of time where it was able to stay above this level. So RSI is about 75 on this breakout, which is slightly overbought, but I think you want to see a little bit of overbought. You want that momentum to stick. And this is a company that fundamentally is firing on all cylinders, and now finally has a stock price that matches up with that.
That's a lot of momentum, right? I mentioned the numbers, and just to reiterate, just for those who are looking at the stock and seeing a one-year move of 40%, it's been almost a straight line up, 32.5% simply in a month. Over a year to date, I've got that stock up 93%. There's no risk.
It's really been treading water since 2010. It just, every time it looked like it was about to break, it failed. But this is different. They reported last week. The real breakout was Thursday, by the way, so I'm slightly late. But it's following through on that breakout. And the reason why it broke out is not cryptocurrency. In fact, mining sales of GPUs are down. It's because fundamentally gross margins are growing. The PC segment, which people scoff at PCs, AMD is still able to sell into a business that's 270 million units a year. Server chip growth is on fire, and AMD is winning in the cloud. Big deals, big partnerships with important players like Microsoft. So I think you've got the fundamental story matching this big technical breakout, and it's a decade in the making. So I'm playing it with a stop. I'm already long Intel. I'm already long NVIDIA. I don't want to have chips be my whole life unless we're talking about Cool Ranch. So my stop is at 16. That was recent congestion. That's where the stock had to work its way through. And I think the buyers and sellers kind of are awash at that level. If it breaks materially below 16, I'll be out. But for as long as this breakout's intact, I want to stay in it.
Yeah, hang with us. Let's kick it around. What do you guys think of this buy? AMD right here with that kind of move.
Listen, I agree with it. A while back, we had a conversation about Intel, and I remember turning to I believe it was you, Jimmy, and said, why not AMD? And AMD in the past has burned investors, really not having burned traders as much so far in the recent 12 months. But I agree with it. But again, it's a momentum trade. And you have to look at the relative performance. It's a momentum trade that's actually working in an environment where momentum's coming off. So I actually like the trade.
To me, and Josh, hopefully you'll respond to this, this seems like a two-horse race between Intel and AMD. I mean, they're just head-to-head on so many things, and AMD's been winning recently basically by eating Intel's lunch. I'm long Intel, I'm not long AMD. I'm curious how you feel about maybe it's a zero-sum game and you're holding both of them in that zero-sum game.
Well, it's not a zero-sum game when you think about AMD in the GPU space. In the graphical processing, Intel is really not a factor. That's really AMD versus NVIDIA, and I think the growth there justifies there to be a two-horse race. When you think about PCs, one of the things that Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, was highlighting, and by the way, she's a major change agent for this company. Not on a par quite with Satya Nadella, but she's that type of figure that comes in and completely changes the perception of the company's technology. When you listen to what she's talking about, Intel's got delays in one of their major chips, and that's a big opportunity for AMD to slide in. And the other thing is gaming. And, everyone's looking for a way to play esports and play gaming. Microsoft, it's rumored, they're looking at the launch of maybe 2 new Xboxes. AMD has major presence in the Xbox and the PlayStation. So I think there are many, many ways to win with AMD. And it's not really the old AMD, which is just how much cheaper can we be than Intel. I think that's a stale way of thinking about it. But again, I own both, Jimmy, so you're in good company.
Josh, it's Joe. In the last couple of days, the decline that you're seeing at Intel and the advance that you're seeing in AMD, how much of that do you think is attributable to just pure funds where money's coming out of Intel and saying, okay, let's find a home in the chip space in AMD? And does that concern you?
I have trouble parsing that out, like whether or not that's really happening. I don't know that anyone can really prove it, But I wouldn't be surprised, Joe, if that were the case at the margins. But I think bigger picture in this case, AMD's got this unique opportunity because Intel is delayed on some important stuff. And actually, Intel's also pulling back on marketing spend, and AMD is accelerating. So I think maybe you're right, and the street and asset managers that are trying to find a semi story are picking up on this idea that there's an opportunity here for AMD to break loose, and maybe that's why we're seeing an 11-year high in the stock.
So first, an observation. I admire your use of language saying that a stock that's up 90%, you came to it slightly late. Number one. Number two, why do you own Intel when Intel seems to be breaking down, it's making lower lows, and the fundamentals have reversed? And for somebody that likes to trade technicals,
Intel's a long-term investment, and AMD's a trade. And I'm not late if the stock performs as a trade. And if I am, I've got to stop. That's number one. Number two, you're cherry-picking the 93%. I'm telling you that this is a breakout that's 10 years in the making. So from that perspective, it's a new 11-year high. So you can make the argument that it's late if you focus on what the ultimate low is, or you can say, okay, this is a breakout on a long-term chart, and it's a new trade.